Welcome to another episode of the Bhandwagon podcast. And today's guest, what I'm going to blame is my timeline and my wife for this one. So normally, when you're on social media, or Instagram especially for me, you're scrolling through, and something takes your interest. Normally, if it's good for me, I kind of scroll over it and carry on. But my wife put me onto this account. And it really fascinated me, including because of the history of working in addictions and substance misuse. This kind of area is fascinating. So, without further ado, I want to invite Sharan Verma from Nutrition and You. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for being so quick on Instagram. I really appreciate that. There's a lot of people
who
message through. You never hear again.
No, do you know, I appreciate every single comment, every single DM I get. There's a lot of people who will not comment on my post, but then they'll DM me to, ask me for help or sort of guidance, because there's a lot of stigma that's related to liver disease.
Okay, so I want to kind of start with this chronologically from in terms of your interest, your personal relationship with in terms of setting this up, and then we'll get to things towards the end if that's all right.
Of course.
So, Sharan, what was a young Sharan like, and did that stimulate this whole creation of Nutrition and You?
So a young Sharan was completely opposite what you see today. She was overweight. She didn't see food for what it was. It was a lot of emotional eating involved. She went through her own period of, losing the weight, finding herself. But the interest in liver began when her dad was diagnosed with liver disease. And at that time, we actually laughed, thinking, hang on, dad doesn't drink alcohol. The doctors have got this wrong. He can't have liver disease. But it was only when we spoke to the doctor, and the doctor said, actually, this is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It can get serious, but he's at the stage where he can reverse it. So he was 50 when he was diagnosed with liver disease in 2001. And by 2011, only 10 years later, he passes away from having a fatty liver. So from that, my interest started to grow, thinking, why don't people talk about it? Why isn't it common knowledge that there is a silent killer out there that can be prevented through diet and lifestyle? There's no pills for this. It's not as if you've got a diabetic or you've got high cholesterol levels, the doctor's going to prescribe you with a medication. Your medicine in this instant is food. Why isn't anybody speaking about this? So I spent about a good 9, maybe 10 years of my own grief, trying to come to terms with what happened. And after the birth of my second child, I thought, okay, I can't go back to work because my boss has told me I can't come back full part-time. So let's do what I want to do. Let's go into nutrition. And that's how Nutrition You was born. And I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to tell people about this disease. I want to prevent more South Asian people from developing it. It's not discussed about. Everyone talks about diabetes. They talk about cholesterol. Your thigh's got it, your jatta's got it, everybody's got it. But nobody talks about this silent killer, because there's no signs. So that, in a nutshell, is where I'm at now, kind of.
Yeah, so kind of a personal bit was, I was aware of it when the doctor, you just normally have a checkup, and they said, you've got the signs of it. And I was almost panicking there and then, quite rightly, to be fair.
Yeah.
And then I got some comfort in the madness, in terms of saying, about 80% of the population's got it, or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Really. So, you got to sort yourself out, do exercise, eat food, and then it's at the forefront of your mind for 2-3 weeks or a month, and then it just slides off that scale.
Yeah.
Can you just tell me then the difference then between, and if you can explain it, the difference between the food relation of non-fatty liver disease and the alcohol one? Because if quite rightly before, when your dad got diagnosed at that point, you said it yourself, you were laughing it off because he didn't drink. So were they kind of clear indications of are the differences between the two?
So if you're going to be consuming a lot of alcohol, so if you're having more than 14 units of alcohol a week, you're going to lead to an inflamed liver that could lead to scarring, etc. But when it comes to fatty liver disease, it's starting off with you being, maybe you lead a sedentary lifestyle, maybe you're gaining a bit of weight or you're overweight. And like you said yourself, you found out because the doctor told you, fatty liver disease has no signs. So when you're getting those fatty deposits, there's nothing for you to say that it's going on inside. It's only once the damage is done, so to speak, that you will start to feel maybe aches and pains around your abdomen area. Maybe you get a bit of fatigue, things that you can easily brush off. And you think, do you know what? It's all right. I'm just overtired. I think that's the thing with fatty liver disease. There's no science until the damage is done. And this is why education is so important. And this is why it's really important to drill the importance of having that healthier lifestyle. I know it's not sexy. It's really boring, just having the good food and not eating out as much. But if you look at the bigger picture, your liver is your body's main factory system. I want you to imagine it as being the head of the orchestra. If it doesn't work properly, all of your other organs won't work. It's like the head. It's just as vital as your heart.
Yeah, I had it explained to me something. It was actually related to Sikhi in one way, and when it first came up, which was around about how your body is like a symphony and it's all performing, and all your organs are the main bit. If it's out of sync, then like the sound is out of place, and the vibration, your energy is off point. To have that kind of spiritual well-being.
Yeah.
So you've just discussed it from the liver. So when you came out of that kind of grief cycle that you were talking about as best as you can at that point,
yeah,
and you went into this, what was your first experiences of having people to come and speak to you? Did you have to go and become medically trained, or was it just an area that you were looking at?
Yeah, so I first qualified as a health coach. So with that, you can give nutritional guidance. So when I joined Instagram, it was all about the calorie deficit. But I was kind of like singing from the same hymn sheet as everybody else. So I took a break from social media. And then my husband was like, what is it? What's the message that you're trying to get across? I was like, people need to know about liver disease. He was like, well, then just talk about liver disease. And that's what I've done. But what I did was I've always stayed in touch with the British Liver Trust, because they were such a big support when Dad was going through his treatment, that I reached out to them. I said, listen, this is what I'm going to be doing now on Instagram. I'm putting the message out. And they're like, you know what, if you can support us and help us in raising awareness, then go for it. Any sort of booklets you need, any sort of material you need, tell us, we'll provide it for you. So I've gone down that route, but I've also recently qualified as a nutritionist as well, because I wanted to make sure that I can help people to a certain extent, because with liver disease, if it's at a fatty liver stage or at NASH stage, which is slightly more, it's when your liver becomes inflamed, I can still help you at that point. But when it goes to liver fibrosis or the end stage liver disease, you're going to need to have people at the hospital helping you. And the reason why I think it's so important for people to make sure they get the right support is because there are so many unqualified nutritionists on Instagram calling themselves nutritionists after maybe doing a 6-week program on Groupon, or just doing a quick course. It takes years to get qualified, and when you're dealing with something like this, you're dealing with people's lives, so the integrity needs to be there. Have I gone off track?
No, that's perfect, because it was actually, I wanted to kind of take it back to your why you took the break when you first went on Instagram. What was your challenges that you were facing then?
I wasn't standing out. My message wasn't coming across. It was coming across as lose weight, but the why wasn't there. My why wasn't strong enough. Why am I telling you? Why am I encouraging you to lead a healthier lifestyle? Why am I telling you to lose weight? It's not to get into, to be aesthetically pleasing. It's to make sure you're healthy from within. It's to make sure you are looking after your liver. So now I've done like a 360. I'm like, listen, this is all about the liver. My page is all about the liver. I'm here to help you. I'm here to guide you. If it doesn't sit well with you, by all means leave. But this is what I'm talking about, because more people need to talk about it.
And particularly more South Asian people, you were saying?
Yeah, a lot of South Asians are prone to it.
What do you know why that is?
You know what? It's just our makeup. We are prone to.
We have got the in my public health background, like South Asians do have this shit.
We've got the short straw.
Poor fat conversion, diabetes, heart disease, cholesterol.
Yeah, we're at the top of the list. Like, hey, come and get us first. And that's why it's so important that for us in our generation to educate our parents, to educate people around us, so that they understand that, do you know what, you can make simple swaps. You don't need to have like fried pakora. You can have baked ones. You don't need to have like cooking ghee, cooking rapeseed oil. Try and make small little changes, but being active. I don't mean doing a HIIT workout. I mean going out for a daily walk, for example. A 30-minute walk. It would be great for you. It's great for your mental health, but it's also great for your cardiovascular health as well. You know, making small little changes, aiming to lose 5 to 10% of your body weight if you're overweight. That will also help you. You know, having more plant-based foods, that's going to help you. The most researched diet for fatty liver disease is the Mediterranean diet. It's full of obviously fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, nuts, beans, pulses. You've got protein in there. It's a very fresh way of eating, and it's encouraged as well. And I know in the winter months it's difficult because nobody wants to have a salad because it's cold, but there are still ways that you can make a meal healthier by having, you know, you can roast your vegetables, for example. By roasting vegetables, they naturally become sweet. So you can still make it palatable for you.
So
and you can have roti. There's a misconception, because a lot of my patients are South Asian. There is a misconception that you have to give up roti. You don't.
What age group are you dealing with mainly? Because a lot of the younger generation that I'm going to class myself as, just for this argument, roti is dwindling. Chapati food is dwindling in terms of frequency. So, like, I can understand the audience and who you're targeting from the older, but are you still saying? I suppose what I'm getting to is, what's the age range that you're dealing with the most?
Youngest client I've got at the moment is 30. The eldest client is in their 50s.
What's the average then? Would you say 40s then?
Like late 30s. Late 30s is pretty much the average now. Late 30s, mid 40s is my average client. But the client that I'm dealing with who's making the roti are living in joint families.
Okay.
So they're having the same meal as everybody else in the family. So it's like a catch-22, like, what should I do, Sharon? Because, I need to cook, but I don't want to cook a separate meal. I'm like, well, you can still have the same meal, just don't put butter in it, for example. So when you're doing your tadka for dal, don't do it in butter, do it in water, put it all in together. If you're going to have roti, don't chop it. Small little things, but I say to them, bulk your plate with salad, put some vegetables on there. That's going to fill you up.
And
so that you don't feel like you're on a diet.
Does the liver disease, is it more prone to males or females more, or does it
discriminate?
So again, sorry?
It doesn't discriminate.
Right, okay.
If you're overweight and you lead an unhealthy lifestyle, you're having a lot of processed food, you will get liver disease. In fact, 1 in 3 people have got it right now and they have no idea. The only way they find out is if they go for a blood test, and it might come up, it might show their liver function slightly raised. They'll go for a scan maybe, and then it'll be confirmed. But apparently 180 people are diagnosed every single day that they have liver disease.
I think right about now, there's a few people who are listening to this who's probably shitting themselves, going, oh my God. Right, okay. So, and then, because if we go back to the South Asian, especially men's, kind of the stereotype in terms of high level of drinking within some communities within there, and having the pressure of, dietary choices that they're making, the scale of risk just increases massively then. How do you then, when you've got a client in front of you who's got probably an alcohol issue, let's say in this case, plus the diet one, how do you kind of deal with somebody with complex needs?
Are you asking me if they're an alcoholic?
Yes, because if we think about, obviously, life doesn't come with a simple kind of like a box of grey and black and white. Sorry, that people operate in grey. But if you got somebody in front of you who's got poor diet, plus is drinking a little bit more, on the audit C scale, they're having a high unit. How do you tackle which bit first?
So for me, it'd be diet first. But if they were, say, an alcoholic, they would need to get that right help or that other support to help them, because I'm not qualified to do that. I can help you with your food and I can give you that guidance, but they would also need support and encouragement from somebody else who can also monitor the alcohol intake and give them the necessary support and help that they need. But in terms of diet, for me, it's really important, if they are over consuming alcohol, to know what stage of liver disease they are at. So yes, they have, they might be diagnosed with liver disease, but what stage is it? Have you scarred your liver to the point where it's at fibrosis that I can't do much and have to help you? Or are you at liver cirrhosis, which is known as end stage liver disease? Pretty much speaks for itself that you're heading towards a transplant. What stage of liver disease are you at? Because if you're in stage 1 or stage 2, sure, I can help you. Anything beyond that, you need a liver consultant.
So when you're dealing and you're trying to raise the awareness, how difficult is it then to get this on the social agenda, the social space from it? what's the kind of challenges and obstacles that you face? Because you
So far,
you said you faced the challenge of the algorithm.
of course,
And,
there was.
you know, and then you've come in, and then I've obviously spotted you. So so at some point it's worked for you. Then have you seen an increased volume since you've gone back into it and being more focused on it?
The more people that are following me now are following me because they've been told they might be at risk of liver disease.
Right.
So they're obviously going on to Google. Google's telling them that they're going to die, because that's what it does. And then they're trying to find me then, or find someone on Instagram who does it. They're finding my account. I'm like, hey, listen, you can control this. If you've just been told you've got liver disease, you're still early stages. You can reverse it. So in terms of like the algorithm on Instagram, I'm not fighting against it. I know that my content is good and it will reach the right people. That's it. I'm there to serve and to help people, because I don't want anyone to go through what we went through as a family, because we were ill-informed. We didn't know anything about it.
And did you feel that I want to kind of know the answer to this, but a little bit, but you might have a different take on it. Is it more kind of some of the awareness that's out there different for communities? Is it tailored? Are the messages different for communities out there, the way that the way it's already conducted? Does it need to be bespoke more?
It does. So you will get a booklet pretty much like something like that a doctor might give you, alcohol related or not alcohol, non-alcohol related fatty liver disease.
Yeah.
Doctor will give it to you once you're diagnosed, say, here, give you this book, lose weight. That is it. And the reason they do that is because they're not qualified to give you nutritional advice, right? But if your liver, you've got no pain there, after 2-3 weeks, you're going to forget about it. So what I'm working at the moment is I'm trying to work with a company where I can get my booklet translated into Panjabi or Hindi and have it, and just readily give it. Have it at gurdwaras, have it at mandirs, places where people can see it, read it, understand it. Because I know that if my dad, he could speak English, but I know that if he had someone who he could have spoken to in Punjabi, he would have felt a bit more at ease. And that's why I've done a couple of reels in Punjabi to try and help people to get the message across, so that, because our parents don't, they're not going to read this. I know my dad got a booklet and I know it went in the bin. That was him. So the information has to be tailored for every single culture, I think, out there.
Okay.
Within our community.
So what I want, if I kind of ask you then, in terms of like one of the things that you concentrate on and you offer is around kind of meal planning. What would like a typical healthy meal look like for let's say a 40-year-old?
Okay, so I don't give any meal plans.
Okay.
I don't do meal plans, because meal plans will make you feel like you're in a diet, and they're very generic and they're very hard to stick to. Okay. What I say to you is, don't think about what you can take away from your diet. What can you add to your diet? What can you add to your diet that's going to be more nutritious? What can you add to your diet that's going to give you more fiber, for example? How can we do that? Let's make it more palatable for you, because if you enjoy the food you're eating, you're going to stick to it. A meal plan, you'll stick to it maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks at the most. You think, forget that, I'm going for a takeaway.
So the language is really important in terms of the stigma around it. So meal planning is a no word, but it's more about assets of what you can add.
Let's add to your diet. So like I know you said for a 40-year-old, but there's a lot more to that. You'll have to take in your base metabolic rate. That means how much your body's burning at rest. I need to look at how physically active you are. I need to put that all together, then work out how much energy your body needs just to survive. And then I'll say, okay, you need to lose weight. So let's put your calories, I don't know, say I gave you a calorie count of 1,800 calories a day. It's up to you how you spend those calories. I want to see what sort of foods you're going to eat. I'll then look at your food diary if you choose to track your calories. From there, I'll say, hey, do you know what? I don't see much greens in your diet. Let's add some in. I don't see much protein in your diet. Let's add this in. Why don't you swap your white bread for your brown bread instead? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? So we're working together. I don't dictate. I help you. I support you to get you to a place so that you never need to go to any dietitian or nutritionist or any like weight loss program again, because you've got the tools, you've got the knowledge to lead that healthier lifestyle. And that's what it comes down to. It has to be sustainable, because this isn't like a 90-day plan. This is a lifelong plan, something you can stick to for the rest of your life. It has to be.
And is there some of the what are the core things, people, the easy sorry, forgive the pun, the low-hanging fruit that people can kind of take on? Because is there a vitamin supplement that really helps liver function? Is there any particular, you see milk thistle is one. I think that was one of the things I kind of
Milk thistle is it's not an evidence-based supplement. Some people choose to take it, but there's no evidence behind it that says that it does help liver disease. So I would say take that information with a pinch of salt. You can get all your vitamins and minerals from having a variety of fruits and vegetables in your diet. There's a phrase which is called eat the rainbow. The reason why we're asking you to eat the rainbow, different colors, is because you're going to get a varied amount of nutrients into your diet. A very easy way to do that. Like you were saying, low-hanging fruit. Things people can easily do. You can increase your movement on a daily basis. 30 minutes out of your day, I'm sure you can do that. You can snack on fruits. You can have vegetables in your diet. And to make it easier, you can get those steam bags. There's nothing wrong with having steam bags, steamed vegetables, for example. You can increase your water intake throughout the day. There are little things that you are able to do that are within inside your control. You can plan your meals for the week. When you go for your food shop, you can say, okay, what are we having on a daily basis? And one thing I say to my clients is if you can, batch cook. If you're making dal, make extra, freeze it. So a day that you're busy, just take it out in the morning, is done. The things that you can do to help yourself, but it's taking that action. And that's where people sometimes stumble because they can't, I wouldn't say they can't be bothered, but they're tired.
Yeah. So maybe I'm drilling into this a little bit too deep in it because it's more personal bias in there. But is things like kale and all those things really essential, right? The greens, especially, because when I was looking into it before, it was all about greens. You could get all the, what are they called? Pucker? Is it the pucker? Is it the pucker tea? It's not.
Oh yeah, those herbal teas.
Yeah. You got the teas. What's the company called? Not Twining.
It is PUK, isn't it?
Yeah. And they used to do some tablets. Yeah, this all in 6 1. I had them for a little bit.
How did you feel?
I'll be honest, yeah. I think a lot of it is down to convenience. I'm not a great cook at all, and I'm saying that quietly so no one can overhear me there. So it's just about the ease of convenience, I think. So I speak to a lot of my mates around there who have a lot of shakes, or they'll be on Huel, or they'll be doing loads of the fads and that. And when you break it down, it's about access, isn't it? It's about, I don't even say it's about being lazy. I think it's just not about having that preparation of actually planning what the week looks like. Yeah. And so where you've got early convenience that if here's a juice with everything that you need in one go, drink it down. Okay, I can tick that off the list and then I can carry on with it. Is that fair to say, or is it, or no, are they in the minority?
I don't think what you're saying is wrong, because obviously if someone gives you something in a bottle, for example, and says, here, drink it, it's got all your fruits in there, you'll drink it, but where's your fiber coming from? That fiber's been broken down. It's just basically water and sugar, and that's it. You're going to be knocking it down. But is it going to fill you up? No, it's not going to fill you up. If you had an actual meal, a substantial meal, maybe it's a sandwich, maybe it's a jack potato with alongside some fruit, you're going to get the fiber that your body needs. That's going to fill you up. If you're pairing it with protein, for example, like maybe you have a chicken sandwich, that's going to fill you up. Protein is known to help with satiety levels, which means it keeps you fuller for longer. Why? Because our bodies take longer to digest that meal. Yeah, so yes, I know convenience is there, but also look at the bigger picture. And if need be, there are companies out there who can supply you with your meals. And no, it's not processed. They can still supply you with these meals. They've just been frozen. You just bang them in the microwave and it's there to help you. Your macros, for example, if you're following a strict plan, your macros will be sorted out for you as well. But just be careful about where you're sourcing your food from.
Why?
Because if you're going to be having something that you think is healthy, for example, I don't want to name a company, but they might be coming across as innocent. But when you actually look at their packaging, it's not so innocent because their sugar's really high in there. And you're thinking, okay, maybe I shouldn't have had that. Maybe if I ate that amount, it's better. And also think about it. When you're having those bottles of smoothies, for example, and maybe it's got 10 pieces of fruit, I don't know. Ask yourself, could you sit down in one sitting and actually eat the amount of fruit that's in there and vegetables that are in there? My guess is you couldn't. You'd be full. You'd struggle to eat that much. Try it.
I don't know. If my body language throughout all of this is getting very defensive, I'm just
I know.
holding on. I'm like, yeah, it's not me, it's someone else. Just taking exactly what I've just said there about picking up those signs, the non-verbals, body language. One of the things that you're working with when you're talking to you is obviously the mindset. How do you help shift people along to kind of prioritize that health? Because everybody, when you speak with smokers or vapors now, everybody knows it's not the greatest for them, yet they still continue to do it. I think anything in excess that people do is not going to be good for anybody. How do you kind of temper the mindset to get it more concentrated, to get it focused?
It takes someone on average 6 months. It takes 6 months before something will become ingrained and become a habit. So when you start making these lifestyle changes, I don't expect my client to be hitting it every single day, but I want to see that they're trying to make an effort. So when they join, when they're on the platform, I will set them habits and they will take it to say, yes, they've done it, or they'll just say, no, they haven't done it for whatever reason. But it's them making that change on a daily basis and making that decision to make that change on a daily basis and stick to it, which ingrains that habit. And that then becomes second nature to them. It's a bit like brushing your teeth. You brush your teeth twice a day. Why do you do it? Because it's ingrained in you to do it. It's a habit. It's healthy. The same way my clients will start to include more fruits and vegetables into their diet. They'll start moving more. It just becomes second nature. Why? Because they understand the benefits that comes with it. Weight loss is a byproduct of leading a healthy life. When you look at it as a long-term sustainable habits that you're implementing, where I say to my clients, look at weight loss as being the byproduct. But look at look at improving your internal organ health, especially your liver health.
It reminds me of a conversation that I had with a former public health director many years ago, and he was talking about South Asian bodies in general, but around one of the things that you work on is having a positive relationship with the body, and why in some cultures and communities the relationship with food is it can vary so much, and it goes that if grandparents or your great grandparents had very scarce food, that would determine their offspring in terms of their kind of genetic relationship with food as well, about storing fats a little bit more. And then when we went more towards the Western world, and you've got the access to poorer foods, for example, access to more food but not as good for you, and we go into that starvation mode and we're just storing a lot of so to speak crap in there. How long do you think that relationship with food needs to change? So when you're working with someone, that Paul McKenna does a lot of work around that, the relationship between portion sizes and how to chew your food correctly, and the types of food around there. That education, is that something that you work on in particular, or do you think that needs to be a little bit more wider?
It all goes hands in hand. So when they're learning about sustainable healthy habits, portion size is taken into consideration. How to read food labels, that's taught to you as well. It's a whole number of aspects that you take into consideration in order for it to become, say, ingrained in somebody, for them to see that, there is other options available. And when you were talking about the scarcity mindset, when we were growing up, we were always told to clear our plates. So growing up, obviously into adulthood, you're going to be like, oh no, clear your plate. I need to clear my plate. But you need to actually think back to am I full, or am I eating because I've been told to clear my plate? And it's then when you start to question things. So one thing I'll say to my clients is, before you eat, ask yourself, are you hungry? So before you pick that snack, are you picking it because it's 11sies? And because it's 11sies, it's time to have tea and biscuits? Or are you having it because you're genuinely hungry? Or are you lacking in energy in the afternoon? Is that why you're reaching for that chocolate bar? Or is it because you generally just think, I fancy something? What is it? What's making you go for that? So being really in tune and being mindful about what you're choosing, that's what's going to help.
I wanted to ask you. I haven't. We haven't had this pre-conversation before, so like I don't expect answers on it at the spot. If you need to know more information, but there's kind of three diets that are very kind of popular out there. Which I say diets, I could say eating styles. Let's put it that way. In that side of it, one is around the keto diet. Is that something? Is that one that you come in contact with, or people think it's the gold? So there's three. I was going to say the keto diet, the like the start intermittent fasting, and around the carnivore diet. Now the carnivore diet is more popular in the States, where it's just kind of like meat only and very little kind of vegetables in it, but the weight drops. There's loads more kind of energy, based on kind of like the studies that have been put and testimonies of people. I've had experience of intermittent fasting, and it really did help me for a while. I think I dropped like 1.5 stone in about, say, coming up to a couple of months. And that was taking out sugar as well out of my diet. I could not believe I've started it again. No, not the fasting, but having a coffee, a couple of sugars in there, and I might have 2 or 3 coffees a day. And when I can't think of at the end of that week how many sugars I've had. It really disgusts me. But I remember when I did the intermittent fasting at that point and how much I dropped. But what I noticed at the time was my energy levels went right, especially when with that body frame. When I was playing football, I couldn't play the same way because my body hadn't adapted to it, and I was just getting pushed off the ball or anything. I didn't have. I felt I looked better. I felt, but I was really a lot weaker. Didn't have any of the strength in there. When you're working with people, do you consider those things when you're putting those, not food plans, but the asset mapping of food?
Yeah. So all of those diets you mentioned have got one thing in common.
Okay, go on then.
They are creating a calorie deficit. That's all you're doing, right? So you can't argue with the law of thermodynamics. If you're consuming less energy than what your body's burning, you're going to lose weight. If you're consuming the same amount as you're burning, you're going to stay the weight. You're going to stay the same. If you're consuming more than what you're burning, you're going to gain weight. So all these diets have done is put you in a deficit. The reason why keto works so well is because obviously and the carnivore, you're eliminating carbohydrates. 1 gram of carb your body will hold up to maybe 3 grams of water. So that initial weight loss that you're seeing on that scale that you're cheering is a loss of water, not body fat. So what I say to my clients, because they've done all these diets, is we're not going on those diets. We're going to include all food groups. I will put you in a calorie deficit and you will see for yourself. You can eat everything. You will lose the weight. You will improve your liver health. And if you have got liver disease and you're doing something like intermittent fasting, it can actually cause more damage to your liver. Yeah. So while these diets come across as appearing to be really sexy, because everyone wants to know, oh, what diet are you on? What diet are you on? You're looking brilliant. Look at this. How amazing. Let's do this. Let's do that. But the basics is what you need to focus on. That's my take on it.
Oh, I feel like I'm at school again now. Oh no.
The basics. You won't go wrong.
Yeah. And I think, it's so crucial. I think that is a massive gap, and where, in terms of the education and the relationship with food, of knowing where it is, because obviously as kids, the kids don't choose their kind of lunches. Their lunch boxes are prepared for them. If people go to McDonald's, I think people don't even know that if you have a Happy Meal, there's a fruit section that you can kind of order. It's not. A lot of the fast foods, deliveries, all these things that are available now, that market is just it's exploded. It's crazy. Yet at the other extreme, it's the cost of living crisis. Yeah. People are using food banks and don't have those choices of having probably the more healthier foods, which may cost even more. Yeah. Is there? You mentioned like the British Liver Trust at that point. Is that part of a bigger, wider conversation? You're part of a conversation to kind of get those things more on the front line?
Yeah, so when I think it was last year, the British Liver Trust, before a book went into publication, they asked me to have a read of it. And I read it and I said to them, can you please just simplify this book? Because most of the stuff you're putting in it, the verbiage you put in here, It's all medical terms. People aren't going to understand that. Yeah, and in their books now they have put about, eating healthily, etc. But when you talk about food not being accessible in terms of costs, I know fresh fruit and fresh vegetables can be expensive if you're going towards the organic range. You don't have to have the organic range. Go for the normal range, just wash it. If that's too expensive for you, go for the tinned version. Just go for the ones that isn't in added salt. Go for there's nothing wrong with having, chickpeas and kidney beans and peas that are in that are canned. You can still eat them. They're still healthy for you. It's knowing how to adapt it and not falling for these scams or these marketing gimmicks where foods are labeled as superfoods. It's not superfood. Sorry if I'm bursting a bubble. It's not really superfood. It's still got, why is kale more superior to an orange? They've both got vitamin C in them. Why is one food pushed to be super than another one?
Well, at the moment,
you're having a balanced diet and you're having, like I said, eating the rainbow, you're getting a variety of vitamins and minerals into your diet.
Yeah.
That's what it should be.
Yeah, I think it makes it even harder as well when you see like the news today around supermarkets limiting people's fruit and vegetables as well. That's going to have another kind of knock-on effect as well. Again, so in terms of the consciousness and getting this on the agenda, are people working with schools, especially in terms of the education around specifically liver health?
I went to my daughter's school and I did a talk, and her year is, I went to her school when she was in reception. She's in year 1 now. And I took the liver with me that was given to me by the British Liver Trust. And I didn't talk to kids about liver disease. I didn't want to scare them, but I showed them this is the liver, told them where it was located. And we spoke about what foods do they think that the liver likes to have and what foods should they have less of. Should they be doing more sitting down work or should they be outside playing? So it's a really good interactive session. And what I want to try and do now is try and be more regular with the school. So I've done reception. I want to see now if I can work up to year 6 and just really get the message across them so they understand that their liver is just as important as their heart. And I think if we teach them now and also teach the parents as well, because what I did was, apart from giving the speech to the kids, I also put a leaflet in that was hand given to them saying, give this to your mum and dad. So their mum and dad could also see about the liver. Got my contact details on there. Some of them contacted me saying, listen, that was really great. Thanks for letting us know. But I do think we have to teach them from a young age. It has to be done.
When you were speaking,
I think even us, our generation, needs to know about it. We need to be talking about it. We need to be making it more aware, because everyone, like I said to you before, talks about diabetes, cholesterol levels. Nobody talks about liver disease.
And when you were speaking with the children, obviously a lot of the information would have been taught to them. Were you shocked with some of the answers that they were coming out with?
Yeah, I mean, they already knew about healthy eating. They already knew about having their fruits and vegetables, why it's important. They already said, we shouldn't have fizzy drinks, etc. We shouldn't be eating takeaways too much, etc. So the school's already doing the job there in terms of educating them about eating well. But the why, I think, needs to be a little bit more ingrained into them. So as they get to adulthood, they understand that whatever they're going to be putting into their body has a repercussion. So if you are leading an unhealthy lifestyle and your diet is primarily takeaways, there is going to be something not nice coming your way. Like I did a post today, actually, which I think might annoy some people, where I just put a lot of people are going to get annoyed with this, but you are happy to drop 1 to 5K on, a handbag. But when it comes to improving your health, you see your health as an expense. But what I say to you is, without your health, you've got nothing.
The handbags. I noticed some of the, going down to more kind of your service and stuff. And before anyone says it, this isn't been an ad. This hasn't been a plug or anything. I did a New Year's podcast where I was talking about be very careful where you get your information and your motivational quotes from, and knowing scams and all this stuff. So I looked into your work quite heavily and I saw the information on there, hence why I wanted to get you on. One of the things that you do, I want to kind of give you credit for, is the resources that you produce and that you're able to share. How do you kind of if you just want to share what resources that you do have and how you utilize them?
So I've got a liver scoring app. or it's a link. You go onto my bio, score your liver health. If your liver health is not great, I will send you a liver guide for free. It's got all the information you need so that you can make that change. Where I come in and where my services come in is if you need that accountability factor. So if you need someone in your corner saying, come on, you can do this, you've got this, let's do it one stage at a time, you will succeed. But then it's not to say that my liver guide isn't going to help you on its own. There's some people that will read that information, take it in and say, right, I know what I need to do, I know what I need to implement, and they will go away and do it. I'm here to serve. I want to make sure, like I said to you before, that nobody goes through what we went through as a family. Dad was only 60 when he died. He was young. He was coming to retirement age. He shouldn't have died. And had we have known what diet he should have been following, maybe, who knows? So I couldn't save my dad, but maybe I can save someone else. And if I can, brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of that statistic, isn't it? It's something roughly along the lines of 70% of deaths over the age of 40 is from preventable causes. That's lifestyle.
Type 2 diabetes, that's preventable. Cardiovascular disease, it's preventable. Liver disease, preventable. All these diseases, they're preventable. And it comes down to our lifestyle choices.
Well, this is going to be really, really charming. This motivation, I can see it. You also did was this like recipes and like recipe books or anything like that you kind
I had some recipe books done for me so that I can, if clients are like, I'm really stuck, I don't know what to have. Here, check this recipe out.
And are you making that culturally sensitive as well to communities, or is it like that you're working on?
I need to start working on that one.
Yeah.
Devising one that's a bit more culturally.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So no one's gonna have any excuse now. You know what's going to be missing now is probably you're just like a cooking channel guide, like a program in it on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, cooking.
And I don't know, man. I think it's going to kind of wake up a few people, especially in your circles around, because like, your dad's age when he was 60, and the people older, like if they had it, it would have been rare if it was food. But higher for when it was kind of alcohol related. But because like some Nando's and things went around, now our generation, the younger generation, got loads of kind of these the takeouts and takeout culture, fast food culture, so to speak. So this will be a wave coming.
I put it down to like the want it now culture. We're so used to having everything at our fingertips, right? You're not used to having to wait for anything. And I think with the rise of Deliveroo, Uber Eats, those sort of companies that give you things to your door, there's no need for you now to actually go in the kitchen and make something. Yeah, that's going to take maybe 30 minutes. Why do that when you can get Deliveroo? That temptation's there.
At least you were able to walk to the chippy and then lose a little bit of calories either way.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas now you're basically not even walking. You're just you're walking to the door, bring your food in, and that's it. What culture?
Yeah. What would you say are the common myths that people miss if you haven't already covered them?
What do you mean? What myths?
So like we mentioned one is where liver disease, only alcohol. Is there any other myths that or misconceptions that people have?
People believe that they need to detox the liver. Now, your liver, one of the functions of it is to remove toxins and harmful waste from your body. So it's doing the detoxing for you. You don't need detox teas. They don't work. All they do is send you to the toilet. That is it. Stay away from detox teas. Your liver does it for you. It does all the detoxing. That's the biggest myth I've heard when it comes to curing liver disease.
Let's kill that industry there and then. Okay.
People like to think they're doing something good for their body, right? So they will have these teas and then they'll weigh themselves a couple of days later. But of course, they're going to be lighter. You've just pooed it all out. You've lost a lot of water. So your liver is meant to be doing that for you. It does over 500 processes a day.
You talked about the relationship with food before and people's eating habits, especially in joint families. It works similarly, kind of codependency, that if if you've got a couple who are using together, it's harder to get results. Do you, when you're working with an individual, are you also kind of trying to keep an ear out for the family, the change of lifestyle for the family as well? Because if somebody's working on their own trying to do it, it'd be very difficult if other people around them and the environment is still not willing to change at all.
Yeah. So I recently worked with this lady. I mean, she's only like late 30s, lives in a joint family, overweight. And I said to her, have you told your family how important this is to you for you to lose the weight? She was like, no. I said, sit down, speak to them, tell them what it is that you want to achieve. Because if you speak to them and the communication's open and they understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, more likely is that they're going to support you and probably going to change their eating habits too. And that is exactly what happened. She changed her eating habits. The family changed their eating habits. Everyone's being a bit more healthier. She's obviously thriving now because she's now being able to make the foods that she wants to make in her way. And I think communication, especially when you're living in a joint family, is so important. But then I've worked with another client who, the family wasn't supportive. And when she was losing the weight, obviously she's changing. She's dressing differently. So family didn't like it. And they were like, what's going on kind of thing. But I was like, you need to set your boundaries. You're doing it for your health. You're doing it for your children. You're doing it so, to increase your longevity. That's important to you. I'm not telling you to.
How crazy is that though, isn't it? The stigma that she's trying to better herself, and then inadvertently people are trying to say you're having an affair, but at the end of the day,
yeah, because you're dressing better, and you're a bit more confident. You're shining now. Your confidence coming through. You're happier now. Again, all these things are a byproduct. Increased confidence, happiness, feeling better, more energy levels. They're all a byproduct of having a healthier lifestyle, of making that healthier choice.
Yeah. Yeah, and the risk of divorces goes up, isn't it? When you think, hang on, you're the problem, it ain't me.
Oh dear, I hope not.
Okay, I just want to bring it to a close at this bit, but I do have a space where I speak to the guests in terms of it is the bandwagon, so this is an opportunity to either jump on a bandwagon or jump off. So I've probably jumped off the keto, carnivore, and the intermittent during this bit. Or is there anything else that you'd like to get off your chest? This is your space to do so.
If you've listened to this, the people that are watching this, start to implement a Mediterranean style lifestyle, a diet, move more, and just don't fall for any fad diets. Be really careful where you get information from. There are so many clowns on Instagram. It drives me nuts.
I can sense a little bit of needle there, that there's definitely either somebody else who does similar and it's rubbish, or this. So is we do have charlatans is the phrase, especially in treatment out there. What does, for those people who don't know what a Mediterranean diet looks like, what is the core kind of fundamentals of that?
You're looking at fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, proteins, even like fish, for example, and there your beans, your pulses, your nuts, olive oil, olives, all the really delicious foods you have. That is a Mediterranean style lifestyle. Fresh food. Fresh is best.
I'm going to change my click and collect order as we speak and make sure that it accommodates that.
And I'm not sitting there saying never have a takeaway. Learn to incorporate in your diet, but most of your diet should come from fresh. That's it.
Thank you, Sharon. I really appreciate taking the time out and going through this. It's a very I know we've had a bit of humor to go through it, but sometimes it's the only way to try and go through a bit of a serious conversation. I'll be trying to do my best to try and highlight it to as many people as I can around the awareness stuff. And I think if there's a lesson to anyone, it's about be more Mediterranean. So you could go on there for a holiday as research, right? That includes, if that's the gimmick we can go with, then that'll be all right.
Yeah, if you want to do that, go on holiday and go and do your research.
And you'll sponsor it. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, Ricky, thank you for having me.
No problem.